Afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. As usual, we'll give it a couple of minutes for everyone to jump in, get comfortable for our lunchtime webinar today. We are absolutely sold out for this webinar, so thank you to everyone who did sign up and who's joining us live. We don't normally get to the point where we don't have any more slots left, so this obviously is a much anticipated topic. It's obviously at the very heart of sustainability, so we're excited to go through this conversation that we've got lined up today. So there's a lot of familiar faces in the attendee list. Anyone wants to say hello, please use that chat function. Someone from my team can make sure that that chat function is working, because sometimes it doesn't work. Oh, we do. That's perfect. Anyone, please feel free to say hello, introduce yourself, have your conversations in the chat. We will be starting very soon. So it's a couple of minutes past, so we'll make a start. Welcome everyone to our Earth Day, and happy Earth Day to everyone. So welcome to our Earth Day webinar. So the topic of this year's Earth Day is about planet versus plastics. Scientists believe that microplastics in our bodies may be responsible for anything from cancer to autism to Alzheimer's and birth defects. We know the amount of plastics that are in the oceans, in our foods, and now going into our bodies is more than we've ever seen before. Obviously, this has a massive detrimental effect to our health, and therefore puts ever more pressure on the health system itself, which is why, as a system, we need to be making sure that we are doing something about the plastic waste problem. With that in mind, I'd love to introduce the two stories that we have today. We've got Sam and Kath coming to us from Rehale. They're going to do their talk first, and then we have Hannah from Grace Cares. She's going to be afterwards. As always, this webinar is being recorded. We do a write-up on our website with all of the slides to share. We then do a link out to everyone on email and on our social, so you can watch back afterwards and send on to anyone you think that this is relevant to. We've got the chat function there. I appreciate everyone jumping in and saying hello. If you do have a specific question for any of our panelists today, we are going to do a Q&A session after all of the talks are done. If you have a specific question, please use the Q&A function so I don't lose questions in the chat. And I'll pose those to our speakers when we come to the Q&A section of the event. So first of all, I'm going to introduce Sam and Kath from Rehale. This is a really exciting talk for us to have on, because we've spoken to a lot of people over the last few years since running sustainability partnerships about inhalers specifically and the potential that they have for recycling. So without stepping on your toes too much, Sam, please share your screen, let us know, give us a bit of an introduction to you guys, and let us know what you're going to be covering today.
So can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay,
and we can see your slides perfect as well.
Yeah, so wonderful. So my name's Sam Coombs, and I'm a medicines information technician. I'm based at East Kent, and together with Kath Cooksey, we've created a project called Rehale. So just allow me to tell you a little bit of a story about Rehale. It was about 2 years ago we found ourselves in a virtual room surrounded by people, pharmacy people from across the county. The purpose of the meeting was to discuss medicine sustainability and carbon emissions reduction. Collectively, we had chosen to focus on respiratory medicine, as there's a clear national focus on this for good reason, which we'll come to later on in the presentation. In the meeting, the focus was initially on reducing the number of inhalers being issued associated with a high carbon footprint. However, the subject matter eventually came to waste management inhalers, with many present keen to encourage the return of inhalers for recycling and safe disposal. The subject matter eventually came to waste management of inhalers, with many present keen to encourage the return of inhalers. And it was at this point never normally afraid to express an opinion in virtual room of peers that I said inhalers are not being recycled. Inhalers are just being incinerated in community pharmacies, but inhaler recycling had been done in the past, so why not now in Kent? Partially to limit a long and protracted rant from myself on why there's no inhaler recycling in the UK, it was suggested that I follow up this meeting with Kath Cooksey, the respiratory pharmacist at the ICB, who was also present at the meeting, to see what might be possible. The follow-up meeting occurred, during which a pretty unlikely alliance was formed between myself, a pharmacy technician that leads the medicines information team, as well as being responsible for sustainability, and Kath Cooksey, the respiratory lead at the ICB. During the follow-up meeting which proceeded, we looked at many possible options, but we knew from the outset that we had to collaborate if we were even to envisage inhaler recycling locally. So our initial strategy was to reach out to an industry partner, which we did successfully, securing a partner that had plenty of recent experience in inhaler recycling. After securing this partnership, Kath and I then went to work and sat down to form the foundations of what is the largest inhaler recycling pilot in the country now, called ReHel. Sorry, the slides are moving slowly. There. So many on this call would have seen this graph. It's an infamous graph, but it's worth not ignoring because it really does show the impact of CO2, the medicines CO2 impact. Medicines on its own contributes to 25% of the total NHS carbon footprint, with 3% alone coming from the use of inhalers. Making things worse, in the UK, we see prescribing habits somewhat different to the rest of Europe, with the vast majority of inhalers being prescribed as MDI inhalers. Now, this all arrives from an unforeseen problem that started with the biggest global environmental success story. In the early 90s, the world decided to act collaboratively as a result of a very large observable hole in the ozone layer. Collaboratively, globally, we knew that CFC gases were causing this, and as a consequence, they were banned. This was a massive success story for global cooperation, and as the ozone layer started to heal itself, the polar bears, as well as the Australians, took a temporary sigh of relief. And at the time, the majority of inhalers were manufactured using CFCs. They need CFCs as propellants to deliver into the patient's lungs. So great news, the manufacturers can't use CFCs as a propellant. So they had to find an alternative. And the alternative they found were HFAs, hydrofluorocanes, predominantly HFA 134A. So what's the problem? They're not causing a hole in the ozone layer. The issue is they have a global warming potential of 1,430, that of CO2. It's kicking the can down the road and exacerbating global warming. Now, even when we ignore the issues with the gas, the implications of 73 million inhalers containing plastics, metals, and residue medicines, the majority of which in the UK end up in landfill. So what did we set out to do with ReHel? We set out to divert inhalers from domestic waste. We set out to create a replicable inhaler recycling model. We set out to empower patients to recycle inhalers. And finally, we needed to calculate our carbon savings.
But before we talk about the details of ReHel, it's worth investing some time to understand inhaler waste in the UK. As we've already mentioned, the vast majority of inhalers prescribed in the UK are metered dose inhalers, all of which are manufactured with a small overage of medicine and propellant. So even when the inhaler appears visibly empty, there's still remaining propellant HFA gas inside. And when this ends up in landfill, where the majority end their life, the gas slowly seeps into the atmosphere. Finally, there's no national vision for inhaler recycling, and that's something we're trying to change with ReHel. However, inhaler recycling is not new to the UK. We just haven't managed to roll out a national strategy. GSK first attempted to achieve this in 2011 with an industry-led national pilot allowing patients to drop off their inhalers, predominantly in community pharmacies, and this scheme ran for many years before closing in 2019. And that demonstrated inhaler recycling is possible. However, they were perhaps a little too early to the inhaler recycling party, and they were unable to get traction at national level. The general public were perhaps not as concerned about environmental considerations as they are today, and as the threat of global warming looms ever present in real time and is not just something to worry about in the future. Since then, there have been further efforts to prove the benefits of inhaler recycling with another industry-led pilot, this time with Chiesi, called Take Care in 2021. They launched a 12-month, much smaller pilot in Leicestershire, the purpose of which for them was to prove a new concept, which was inhaler recycling using a postal service. The concept being supplying patients with a prepaid envelope to post their used inhalers back for recycling. Both pilots were deemed successful in their own right, proving it was possible to deliver on this. However, both collected relatively limited numbers, with percentages unable to reach double digits. We reviewed both pilots when developing the ReHel model, looking at the pros and cons of each, in order that we could create an optimal efficiency model for ReHel. Next slide, Sam, please. So how does this all work? So firstly, a pharmacy interested in being part of ReHel signs up to the scheme via an online alliance portal. A starter kit is sent out to the pharmacy, including a bespoke designed flat pack cardboard bin. And all of this is sent at the same time as a normal medicines delivery from the alliance wholesaler with no extra trips necessary. Next, substantial comms are delivered to a variety of stakeholders, promoting the ability to be able to recycle inhalers. Once a pharmacy is registered, they are also added to our ReHel website, which provides a map of all the nearest pharmacies participating in ReHel for patients and the rest of the population to be able to view. Then, the patients begin dropping off their inhalers at the participating site. Once the bin is full, the pharmacy then uses the Alliance portal to inform the driver there's a bag of inhalers ready to collect the following day, and that portal takes just a few seconds to complete. At this point, a barcode is sent to the user, which is printed and placed in a paper transparent envelope, which is stuck to the side of the bag in preparation for the delivery driver to collect. The next day, when the driver collects the bag of inhalers, which they're expecting to collect, it is scanned so that the inhalers can be tracked at every stage. The driver then takes the bag of inhalers to a central depot in Croydon, where the bag is scanned again before being placed into a much larger bin. And finally, once this large bin is full, our recycling partner Grundon is informed, and they then organise a collection of this bin. Only at the same time they'll be making other collections in the area, again minimising any carbon footprint. So what happens in the recycling process? We're using a specialist waste management company, and the metal canisters are crushed, the HFA gas captured and repurposed in industry, some going to the automotive industry. The plastic casing from the MDI inhalers are flaked and turned into bins and clothing and any number of items made from recycled plastic. The metal canisters are smelted down, and the great thing about aluminium is it can be recycled indefinitely. The residue medicine is disposed of safely, and the remaining plastic, which can't be recycled, is repurposed into energy by incineration, which is then obviously put back into the national grid. And supporting this process and providing important positive feedback reinforcement, congratulations emails are sent to all pharmacies when they ask for a bag collection, outlining the carbon savings that they have made by being part of ReHel. Next slide, Sam, please. So where are we now, 6 months into a 12-month pilot? We have 55% of all potential sites signed up across East Kent. 100% of our acute hospital trust sites are signed up. 79% of dispensing GP practices are signed up. 50% of community pharmacies are also signed up. And currently we've collected well over 55 bins of inhalers. So I think perhaps the question is now to ask why. Why did Sam and I start this pilot? Well, the project has been massively hugely time consuming and has taken over our lives, often involving many late nights and being completed alongside our full-time jobs. It was and is because it's morally the right thing to do, and we saw the opportunity for innovation. Why have all the acute hospital pharmacy sites signed up? Because it's the right thing to do. Why have the majority of dispensing practices signed up? Because it's the right thing to do. And why have so many community pharmacies signed up and many more in the pipeline ready to join? Because it's the right thing to do. And finally, why have the patients been bringing back their inhalers to all these sites? Because it's the right thing to do. The incentive has always been the morally right thing to do. And this is what has given us the results we have to date. You're going to share that?
Yeah, just finally to summarize, we've done an animation which I hope is going to work, but I'm not sure about the audio. Do we know if the audio will work?
The audio generally doesn't work. It generally doesn't work for me when I try and share, which is unfortunate. But obviously, give it a go, Sam. It might be more of a friend to you for some reason.
Well, I don't think it will be, but he has subtitles, so I mean, it still makes sense. For
sure.
Yeah. That sounded amazing for me, but I'm pretty sure you guys didn't hear anything.
No, not a word.
We didn't, but we will share this animation as well on our write-up on the Sustainability Partnerships website, and people can watch it in its full glory in their own time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you, guys. So I do have quite a few questions already, which I do love. We do have a question there just about which trust this is in, and I'm just going to answer that one real quick. It's Kent and Medway, but we'll go through the rest of the questions in the Q&A. Now, I can't believe that this is only 6 months into a pilot. It seems so put together. It doesn't even seem like it is a pilot. It seems like it's just business as usual, to be honest. It's so well thought through. It's been so thoroughly done. The fact that you've looked at what's happened in the past and what's worked and what hasn't, and you've literally thought about every single step of the way. You've concerned yourself with the mindset of every single stakeholder in the entire process. It's unbelievably thorough. And when you say, why have people signed up? Why has this stakeholder group been involved? Why does this stakeholder, why do pharmacies get involved? And it's not just, guys, I think you're doing yourself a massive disservice there. It's not just because it's the right thing to do. Obviously, it's the right thing to do, but I think because it has massive amount of credibility, because you've done so much work to make sure that this is thoroughly thought through and considered in every single element, and no one can possibly challenge any question as to, yeah, but where does this go, but what about this bit, what about you've got an answer to every question that could have possibly come up, I think, and just the gravitas that you bring to it with that genuine credibility around the entire process is really, Kath, I think, why people are engaged with it. So massive congratulations, a huge well done job well done to you guys. I appreciate you sharing that with us today. Like I said, guys, I will come back to a lot of these questions that people are super interested in when we come after we've done Hannah's talk. So Hannah, please, can you share your screen, introduce yourself, and tell us what you'll be talking about today?
Yeah, no worries. Let's see if we can get this working. And now I've got the heads up about videos, so that'll be good. I'll just talk through the videos that are going to come up on mine as well. So hello, everybody. I am Hannah Montgomery, and I'm a co-founder of a not-for-profit called Grace Cares. So hopefully, she says, it's still loading. It says my screen. Your screen share is loading. So we'll see what happens. But if
Sam, can you stop sharing? I think because you're still, if you can just press stop sharing, then I thought Hannah's would take it over automatically,
Yeah,
but I think maybe that's it. Yeah, perfect.
yeah. Okay, cool.
Thank you.
We'll see. And then I'm screen sharing, so will it zoom? Nope. Oh, here we go. Not moving at all, which is unfortunate. Oh, here we go. I think it's just a little bit slower on. Press happy. So Grace Cares, we're a not-for-profit, and we want to stop care items needlessly going into landfill. We then make them available to people at less than the original RRP of the product, and then we use those products to help health and social care workers nationwide and older people and their families with hardship grants, and we help the local community with activities and rock painting groups and sustainable activities. So why? This probably won't go on, so I can give you a little bit of a summary. So I'm one of the co-founders, and I came back to my hometown of Lichfield 8 years ago, and I set up Contact the Elderly Lichfield. So this is once a month. We have 8 older people at the moment that they come to my house, I put on an afternoon tea party for them, and it just stops social isolation. One of the ladies that I was supporting, called Doreen, she had a fall about 2 years ago, and when she was coming out of hospital, she lives in a top floor masonette flat. She doesn't have any family, and she doesn't have much of a support network. Therefore, it meant I was being called all of the time. Hannah, can you just? Hannah, can you just? And this isn't what the video says, but this is the truth. It would do my nut in. And I called one of my friends, Adam, who owns a clearance company, and I said, look, we need to get a stair lift for Doreen. We need to get her out of the flat. She's going insane. If you do a clearance with a straight down stair lift, let me know. I'll send someone in to take it out and put it into Doreen's. And he said, I have tons of care equipment, and no charities will take it off me, and it gets broken down, and we try and recycle as much as we can, but honestly, it's horrific. And I was like, I've worked in health and social care in some capacity forever. This is ridiculous. We need to make this better. So that's kind of the why and where it started from, she says. And then this is Adam. So Adam's one of the co-founders that I called. He is wonderful. He was in the RAF for 13 years. He was a sniper. He was also part of the Queen's Colour Guard. He's also an unpaid care worker. So his mother, who is pretty amazing as well, she was a children's surgeon at Birmingham Children's Hospital. She had brain aneurysms, and now she's registered blind, she's registered deaf, she's terminally ill. But I still don't think she will go, because this woman survives everything. She is brilliant, and she just loves a pint of Guinness. But he is her unpaid carer. So he'll go in the morning. He's got 4 children and a wife and a dog. And he'll go in the morning, give her her meds, because he's had poor domiciliary care delivery previously. So he's a superhero. So he helped with all of our logistics side of things, because he's got the infrastructure of vans from his clearance company. And then the third founder, as to why, this is one of my best friends, Emma. Oh, she looks very glamorous normally. That's a very poor freeze frame of Emma. But she had cancer, and she was running several restaurants and being really stressed. She had cancer and just thought, what am I doing? And then now she's thankfully all clear, and she's wanting to help support as well. So there's the 3 of us that are kind of in it together. So let's get through there. So why? In terms of the public perception, in terms of the NHS side, lots of people just seem to think that the care equipment is thrown away, even when they don't know. We got involved. There was a kind of tweet that had gone viral. A doctor had put a picture up of a viola bin with loads of care equipment in it. Well, it could have had infections on it. It could be broken, but that kind of went viral, and we got tagged in it a lot. Like, why is this going in the bin? Why isn't it being reused? So we're kind of here to help the perception of what's happening within health and social care. We work with 4 NHS trusts at the moment. So they give their old care equipment to us, and then we give them monthly impact reports on the carbon savings and then what the social impacts that's been. But I know that loads of people might know about the 9R frameworks, but I thought it was interesting, seeing as it's kind of Earth Day, to know a little bit more about going through recovering's cool, and refusing is the number one thing to do, and we sit with reduce, refuse and reuse and repair element of it. Zooming in. So as I've already just said, we work with 4 NHS trusts, and I'm going to show you a little bit of a case study of what we've done with Birmingham NHS, because they're our first partner, so I've got more data on that. We're a certified carbon literate company, and I'm just starting with Aston University to do an ESG sustainability diploma with them. We're part of, if you're interested in sustainability in health and social care, are you members, or do you know about the Institute of Health and Social Care Management? There's a greener care subgroup there. It's really interesting. You just jump on for an hour a month, and there's some really good discussion, and you can see what other NHS trusts are doing well. So that's interesting. I'm on an advisory board to DEFRA. We also offer free caring for tomorrow support. So my heart and soul is social care. I know social care a lot, but we obviously work with the NHS as well. NHS have got your greener NHS support elements that you've got is much more, and you're much further down the process than social care is. So with the stuff that I was doing with DEFRA, I've got a Caring for Tomorrow series. So once a quarter, I host webinars for care providers to jump on. So we've got the Midlands NHS coming on to the next one. We've got HC1, the largest care home provider, on to let everybody just share good knowledge of what everybody's doing. And we do a collaborate session as well for social care providers as well. So they jump on and we talk about what they're doing now, what they could be doing better, and we all take away one action. So if the CQC ever comes a knocking, they can evidence sustainability wise that they have been collaboratively working on what they've been doing to be better, because that's just another thing for social care providers to have to do, and how they're going to do that. We also have a partnership with Staffordshire County Council. So all the 15 HWRCs, household waste recycling centres, have a little storage container where the public can put used care items, and then my dad goes around and goes and picks it up in the van and brings it back, and we start the cleaning process from there. We've got a depot in Lichfield. We run monthly community support. We do intergenerational things with local colleges and schools to get them interacting with the elderly community within Lichfield. We've already given out 12 hardship grants. 9 of those were to care workers, health and social care workers. We've got donations of wheelchairs. So when the Commonwealth Games finished, they had bought lots of evacuee chairs, lots of wheelchairs and stuff that they have to buy. And then where does it go after these big things finish? They got donated to us. And also Karcher have donated some steam cleaners so we can clean stuff. We've won Aviva, the insurance brokers, Environmental Action Award. We've won Best Sustainable Business through Lichfield District Council, Community Hero through Lichfield District Council, and we've won Best Supplier of Products and Services by Care Talk magazine. And his pictures are always a bit more interesting, so I thought I'd show some pictures of some of the things that we're already involved with. So here we go. So what are we doing? How does it work within the NHS? That side of the things that we're doing. So we work really closely with Birmingham's waste manager. We have a dedicated email, so no requests. So their help desk email us when stuff needs to be picked up. They let us know what it is, so we know what size vehicle needs to be there. And then we respond and say that we will go within 48 hours to go and pick that up. Then we're wearing our Grace Cares hoodies, whoever's going. We've already got paperwork in place. So there's pictures of all of our pickup personnel, so the porters know who they're looking for as well. We're all DBS checked, and we go to the porters where we know we're going to be picking up each time. We have the donation forms, so there's a digital form that signs off what we've took in terms of transfer agreement, and we've got a formal partnership agreement of transfer of goods, which was signed at the beginning of the partnership. So far, 98% of everything that has been donated has found a new home. 16% of those items are either undergoing maintenance. We've got volunteer fixers that come and help us fix things, or they're waiting to find a new home. They might be on the website ready to get picked up, but 100% will be reused for their original purpose, which is very good. And this was just a quote from Sam. So I knew this was going to be a fantastic opportunity. The partnership has allowed the opportunity to align the same vision. We share on sustainability and our commitment to being zero to landfill. The partnership has been smooth sailing from day one, with effective processes put in place and are easy to work with, and having the opportunity to give back. So that's the waste manager that we work with in Birmingham. So what are the benefits to working with us? Well, when care equipment is prescribed by the occupational therapists and others, where does it go after? We can help on the education for that. So we often go into different subsections of Birmingham NHS and offer to do free educational things. So we're happy to do regular talks with teams. We monthly produce impact reports for SAM. So therefore, out of these items, we know how much carbon it would cost to make them in the first place. Therefore, them not being remade, you've made that reduction in carbon. Also, we plot the journey of where they come, and we find out where the new owners are going to do. So we kind of calculate the carbon of that journey, and then who we've been able to help off the back of it. We do regular monthly visits dealing with the porters. So even if we've picked up a couple of days before, it's the last Friday of each month, we go and say hello to the porters and make sure that everybody's happy, if there's any way that we can improve the process. And we're able to take things that are, so we've just had a load of beds from South Tees. It's not because there's particularly anything wrong with the beds. They are a bit bashed and they're just at the end of their life for the NHS because a newer model has come into play, but they're still perfectly usable beds for care homes and Joe Blogs public. So we have less red tape. We're not bound by the CQC like you guys are in terms of what you're doing. We're supporting delivering the net zero strategy, and all of these good stuff. I mean, if you care about sustainability, you'll already know the positive impacts of working on reusing and recycling is. So in terms of what could we do now, maybe you'd want to talk about working with Grace Cares, maybe you'd want to attend or offer some support toward the Caring for Tomorrow collaborative sessions and webinars that we've got, or you might have some questions. So there's a QR code there that you can scan, and that'll take you to a page, and you can tick box whatever information you want, and I can send it across to you. And just this says thank you for your donations. You can't hear it, but that's what we're saying. So thank you for listening, and I'll stop now.
Nearly forgot to unmute myself there. Yeah, again, Hannah, thanks so much for such an inspirational story. And I think quite similar to what Kath and Sam had said, it's working with those different stakeholders, isn't it? It's engaging with all those different groups and how they work together. That's how the system works. It can't just be you and your dad and, you know, just hoping that it's creating the inspiration for people to want to be able to chip in and get involved with what you're doing that actually makes it work. So we do have quite a few questions, which I think that I'll just jump into if that's okay for everyone. A lot of them are involved with Rehail. So Sam and Kath, if you guys are ready for the quick answers, to my quick fire round, we've got the first one. Are there any costs involved to NHS or community pharmacies for the service? So I assume, you know, you do have like the boxes and that kind of stuff, but is there anything they have to pay for?
No, it's all free at point of service. And obviously I've just looked through the questions, and there is a lot of interest in kind of the funding model that we have had for this particular pilot. Obviously the NHS were not able to fund this pilot for us, so that's why we reached out to a pharmaceutical industry partner who obviously had experience doing inhaler recycling in the past. They have funded the pilot for us.
Okay, so that's the funding question. If anyone has any other questions that are more specific or would like to hear a little bit more about how these guys went about that funding process, let us know as well. We've got Sean saying, how have you got the patients involved and signed up to returning their inhalers? Is that the comms piece that you were talking about, Kath, making sure there was a lot of communications going out?
Yeah, that's we've done a significant amount of comms. We spent a long time developing a website that allows patients to learn about Rehail, but also we provide a Google map so they can see exactly where to drop off their inhalers. So making it even easier to engage with it. We've done quite a bit of social media, so getting the news out via social media. We developed the animation which we've shared, and now we've just literally in the last few weeks sent out direct text messaging via the GP providers for those patients that are using inhalers to say, right, look, you can now recycle your inhaler. And that's getting quite a lot of good feedback.
Yeah, really useful. I think that we've heard in the past that the texts from your own GP are often the most effective. You can do lovely animations and they can have information and things on websites and stuff, but actually something that just is quite specific and sent straight to you is that patient from your GP kind of maybe gives it a little bit more like, oh, I'm going to get told off by my doctor if I don't make sure that I do this. Okay, perfect, thank you. And I think as well, I think it might be interesting, Sam, I assume there were costs involved in the development of the website, coming up with all the social media stuff as well. Was that all covered in that funding framework that you already mentioned?
Yeah, we didn't need to. We were able to use existing assets within our respective organisations around the comms.
Right.
So the release of the socials didn't cost us anything extra. The development also of the IT aspect of the websites didn't cost us anything because using the existing infrastructure that brought into the project. Some of the other IT aspects did cost, but yes, it's all covered by the initial outlay.
And that's the advantage of using NHS organisations. So I work for Kent and Medway ICB, and Sam works for East Kent Hospital Foundation Trust. So we've kind of got the hospital and the ICB resources that are already there. So that's the advantage of having NHS collaboration. Yeah,
of course. There's a question about the limitations on the waste transfer via the wholesalers. I'm not 100% on that, guys. You have to jump in.
So yeah, there is obviously pharmaceutical waste. There's legislation around the movement of pharmaceutical waste. And when we were designing the size of the bins and the bags and everything that went into community pharmacies and just any kind of collection site, we wanted to, number one, bear in mind that we wanted those bins to be as small as possible, so that obviously, although visible, would be easily stored in kind of crowded dispensaries where they've obviously, space is a premium, but also in terms of the waste management collection, there is legislation around how much waste can be collected. So making those bins as small as possible also kind of meant that we were able to adhere to that legislation as well.
Okay, great. Right, now into the kind of the meat of it, guys, and I think this is probably for both of you and Hannah as well. Is there any intention to roll this scheme out nationally? So obviously at Rehale it is a pilot at Kent and Medway. Hannah, what's the reach currently that you guys have, and what's let's start with you, Hannah. Let us know what exactly is the plan for scale here.
Yeah, so Adam's part of a sustainability consortium of other clearance company owners. So we've already been in talks with them that we could have storage within their units that we would pay for, and they would go back and forth to maybe the tips if we could get partnerships with the tips and the NHS in their locations. So there's one in Portsmouth and there's one just as you enter into Scotland. So it's kind of, there's 6 or 8 of them nationwide, but we need to get this firmly. So we only actually launched Valentine's Day last year. So get the processes completely crystal clear here before, because at the minute we're doing things on spreadsheets. We're going to try and get a CRM system, but this is completely self-funded. So I put money in, Adam's put in money, Emma's put in money. We don't get any payment for it. We do it completely for free. I've got my own company and that's how I pay my mortgage. So it's just about if anyone wants to help. If anyone wants to help, it would be great.
Well, that's definitely a call to action for people on the call as well. I know a lot of people have commented as well in the chat just to say it's such a massive support and it's going to benefit a lot of people. So that is a call to action. Obviously, we'll make sure to share Hannah's details. Sam and Kath, tell me, what are the scaling ambitions for Rehail post pilot? When does the pilot finish? You said it was 12 months, so you've got another 6 months to prove out the pilot.
We got another 6 months to prove the pilot, and our ambitions is to be able to prove something that we can expand across the UK. Now, the model that we've created is infinitely expandable within the UK area. Because of the network we're using with Alliance, they have access to every single pharmacy across the whole of the UK. So we are now working between now and the end of the project to produce a toolkit that will enable others to buy into this and to expand on it. But we're also behind the scenes working on potential other models that will make this sustainable across the UK, and not just sustainable environmentally, but physically sustainable as well. So potentially not using NHS resources to expand on this.
Yeah, great. I mean, we do have a particular interest about Scotland as well. Really appreciate the Scottish contingent today. Didn't realise that we'd have that we don't normally get that many on. So what is that also in the plan?
Yes. The only limitation with Scotland is the Scottish Islands. It's quite difficult to get to the Scottish Islands, but we have every intention of being able to open this up to the whole of the UK, including Scotland.
Well, interestingly, we do have Helen, who is a big fan of Sustainability Partnership. She does come on quite often, who's a representative from the HSE from the Republic of Ireland as well. She's posted her details there for both of you guys, Hannah and at Rehail as well, to get in touch with her, because I'm sure she can make some ways towards things happening in the Republic of Ireland as well, as opposed to just in our NHS. So next up, it is all about across the nation, isn't it? And about how to spur. Well, this is a great question actually. How can the NHS England spur this on to have this happen across across the nation as well? So Sam and Kathy do have a lot of people on the webinar today that you can maybe ask, have a little ask as to how they can spread the word and create that inspiration to other stakeholders internally.
Yeah, obviously from an NHS England perspective, there are plans in the pipeline to look at a much smaller version of something similar. Obviously we're kind of a good 6 months ahead of the NHS England current model. The major challenge we will have in spreading this will obviously be financial. The model works, and we've proved the model works, and the model will continue to work, but it's the financial aspect that we need to kind of work in the background. We do have potentially some solutions to that, but that will be our biggest barrier in making this work. I think everyone knows this needs to happen. I think everybody wants this to happen, but it's obviously creating a financial model that can be self-supporting, and that is our intention.
I wondered, it's sort of more of a question for me, and it's something that's sort of come up quite often for I guess for both of you to answer around the priorities. Why, or how can you guys put together just some sound bites around why your specific type of recycling, that's for you as well, Hannah, or reusing, reuse and recycle for your specific products that you're talking about? What is the rhetoric that you use to sort of bump that up the agenda point a little bit? Do you want to start with that, Kath, and then Hannah, you want to jump in afterwards?
I'll let Sam come in on that point.
Oh,
okay. Okay. I think this is easy. This speaks for itself. I mean, nationally, we already know that inhalers contribute to 3% of the total carbon footprint of the NHS, and we have, an NHS net zero goal of 2040. That alone, pushes it well up the agenda for sustainability. The fact that we use 73 million inhalers every year, and I think in the past, like Kath said, I think it's been difficult to get public engagement on this, but I think attitudes and cultures have changed around recycling and reusing and attitudes to environmental impact. So I think now really is the right time to do it. And I think not just at an organisation and NHS level, but it's the right time to do it with the general public.
I think you're right. You know, everything has come to a fore. There's a bit of an event horizon where things have sort of converged, where you've got the public understanding and sympathies towards a greener future, along with NHS goals and along with the actual technology, because you guys do use a bit of tech in the process, right? Of like the scanning and all that kind of stuff, and that's all kind of converged at the same time, where all these things have come together to actually make this work. But I think it is more of the educational piece as well. You know, Sam, I think that when you're in something, you know, you're like, oh, everyone knows that inhalers this percentage 3%. Everyone doesn't know that. And I think that it, you know, it is the ongoing educational piece around it and the sharing of those stats to really prove out that this is a piece of low-hanging fruit for those net zero goals. Hannah, how do you guys use similar kind of messaging to get what you do up the agenda for recycling and reuse?
It's the CQC angle, especially with the social care providers, because they're scared to use. So we can get infection control certification done in a level, but they're scared. So they're like, well, I don't want to buy off you, but you know, off the tap man, you know, that's. But we're fully insured, and the fact that we're continually just trying to up our marketing presence, get the awards, show people that it's not scary, show that bigger care homes are using us, and having almost live case studies of the NHS and the bigger care providers using us and giving back free resources with Caring for Tomorrow to just show we're continually learning. Nobody knows everything on sustainability, hence why now for some reason I've signed up to this Aston University diploma. But it's important that you overly educate yourself so you can help everybody. So I think that knowing more of a background in terms of sustainability to support them with their CQC framework, I think that's important. That's something.
Well, you've had
also about the population as well. I think, you know, again, as you quite rightly said, Georgia, we do assume that everybody knows this. I did a bit of kind of a market researchy little trip to our area and spent a couple of days in the area speaking to patients and to community pharmacists themselves. And actually we've solely focused on, you know, our kind of big mission has been the reuse of the gases from inhalers. That's kind of where this came from. But actually the public were more interested in the plastic.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's how do you get that message out there so that it kind of resonates with all the people, all this, you know, the public stakeholders that you want to get involved. And I think for Hannah, that is, you know, that message is really easy, because people would be horrified to know how much of this stuff actually ends up in the bin. And inhalers relatively small, but the stuff that you're talking about is huge. So it's a case of, you know, it's getting that message out to the public, and that needs a national agenda, I do believe, and we don't have that as a national agenda at the moment.
I mean, that's something that you talked about in your talk as well, is the fact that, you know, you can do this amazing piece of work in your local ICB, but actually pushing things on into a national agenda is actually how things, you know, that you all know the amazing story of how we started healing our ozone layer, because the entire planet united against the use of CFC gases, right? It's one of the biggest success stories in environmental conservation in recent history, right? But it's the same, like it needs to be on the national agenda. And I think that you're right about getting the message out there, but you need to get the message out to the right people, because as you say, you need to understand that the general public, they don't really know anything about gases and they don't really care. But plastic waste, I know a lot about that. And that being reused and that kind of stuff as well, and having those personal stories behind things. Hannah, I think that you guys do really well with having that personality piece. Someone did ask how Grace Cares is funded, and I know that you mentioned you've put a lot of your own funds into it, but do you want to tell us a little bit more about how people can actually support if they wanted to? Do they just get in touch with you?
So we've got Friends of Grace Cares, so basically going around with the begging bowl to our friends, family and whatever, give me £5 a month, just sign up for £5 a month, that would be great. We've got corporate sponsorships that we've started, so some of the bigger care providers are then supporting us, and then it helps tick all their boxes really. But we fund it as well through the sale of the items, so we have to pay our break even, we need to make £2,000 every single month to keep the lights on. We have a 2,000 square foot unit because, as Kath said, I wish we did just have little inhalers because it wouldn't be so scary for me that as soon as the first of every month turns over, I'm like, sugar, we need to have made £2,000 to just keep this going, and we're not getting paid, and we're giving up all of our time for free. So more volunteers as well. We're desperately looking for, so it doesn't have to be financial. We've got my dad was a paramedic. He had a breakdown during lockdown. Now it's a little job for Johnny. He comes and helps. So our volunteers are they help us work for sure.
Okay, I mean, I did touch on it there a little bit with the scanning and stuff, but Sam and Kath, can you tell us a little bit more about what digital technology is being utilised to facilitate the monitoring of the waste? And I think that, again, if there is successful reporting, you know, what kind of reporting that you guys are going to be able to come out of this proof of concept piece with, that will shout, you know, louder to making sure that gets on the national agenda. So are you doing a lot of like sort of digital tech stuff with the process?
You want me to do this, or you want to
Yeah,
discuss? Yeah, okay, fine. Okay, so there was a number of digital platforms created. One was the digital portal that Alliance developed, allowing the pharmacy users to register quite easily, and then secondly, that digital platform also allowed for the drivers to collect and scan, and for the inhalers to be scanned at every single element of the process. So we know exactly where the inhalers are. We also know, because of the size of the bin, how many inhalers are there on average, and then we also get numbers back from the recycling company we use as well on how many they recycle. So we know from those figures how much plastic is, you know, recycled and turned back into, you know, useful things, how much, you know, aluminium is turned back to useful things, and how much gas is also taken away from those canisters and repurposed into industry. So yeah, so we'll have clear, you know, good news messaging as the project continues. And like Kath's already mentioned, every time someone collects or organizes a collection of the bin, they get informed of exactly how much carbon they've saved, because we know how much carbon a bin full of inhalers uses. Hope that answers some of the technical questions.
Yeah, I hope so too. Because we are running a little bit late on time, and there is a last question which I just think is just really lovely. And there's a question. Do you have more purpose/happiness in your job when you're putting the process in interventions that reduces carbon and consumption? Hannah, do you have more purpose and happiness? I know that you've got your own company that you run, but this one you've said is already taken over your life. And is that because of like the reward that you get from this?
It's the right thing to do. We're almost delivering care when someone comes in to buy a wheelchair, and then you're helping that person realise they need the wheelchair, and then there's that, or even the purchase of a piece of care equipment is the delivery of a care visit. And when we go and do the drop-offs, we go in and we make sure, let us show you how that piece of equipment works. Do you want a cup of tea? Because we're not bound by it. It gets you in the feels. I mean, or else I'd be completely mad for doing this for absolutely no financial gain or no sleep whatsoever. But no, it's the right thing. It is the right thing to do. It's completely why we do it.
Sam, is this what gets you up in the morning?
Yeah, same for us. We're very much, you know, again, most of this is done in our own time. We both have really demanding full-time jobs for the NHS, and this is the stuff that kind of makes you feel happy when you've worked all weekend on a document, and yeah, and then you wake up on a Monday morning and you can share your message with all you lovely people today. So yeah, this is the stuff that keeps us going, and we both got a passion for sustainability. Sam even more so than myself. So yeah, it does. It's what's kept us going for these long 18 months it's taken to get the project off the ground.
Yeah, I echo Kath's words on this. You know, if we wasn't so passionate about it, if it wasn't, you know, it makes coming into work exciting. You know, some of the time it adds an apps takes it to another level. And it means that we you know, I find myself, you know, working to midnight or sometimes later on like different projects, you know, that are associated with Rehel. You just would not do that with anything else work associated. But it's because it's reheld, because Hannah, you've always said it's the right thing to do.
I think that's the motto for this particular webinar, isn't it, guys? Because it's
The
the right thing to do. Yeah, well, it's a great motto to finish on for Earth Day, isn't it? So I am really, really lucky to have had all of you guys here. Sometimes things can get a bit doom and gloom, especially when we're talking about plastic. When we're talking about sustainability, so appreciate such inspirational, and it's it's one of the reasons that we run this as well, so that we're glad to get these amazing stories in front of this really engaged audience that we've had the privilege to amass over the last few years. So I do really appreciate it. I'm going to have to just go through some of the stuff that we've got coming up over the next few months. As usual, we've got a great list of events that we have. So we've got next month in May, on the 22nd, on the same date, we have Driving Sustainability Innovations in NHS Transport and Travel. Then we have our flagship Sustainability Day of Action. We've got 4 sessions on that day. We've got Achieving Net Zero in the NHS Supply Chains, 10 till 11. We've got How Can the NHS Plate Up Sustainable Food Alternatives, 12 till 1. That's always interesting, especially to have at lunchtime, but make sure you do have your lunch during or before, otherwise you'll come off that one very hungry. I always do. We've got Breathing Innovation, Advanced Clean Air Solutions, 2 till 3 p.m. It is actually Clean Air Day on the 20th of June, so that's why we've got that one in. We wanted to make sure we were covering that off. And then we've got Leading the Conversation, Building Communication Strategies for Sustainable NHS Future, 4 till 5. So at Sustainability Partnerships, we do have a marketing agency driving this. So we have some of our experts coming in to talk about how communications of strategies for sustainable care can be at the core of what you guys do as well. So we're offering up some free support there. As always, all of our events are free for everyone to attend, particularly those in the NHS. And then going into July, we do have Transforming Hospital Theatres. So that's always one that people are quite interested, because we do realise the waste that's involved with the theatres within the NHS as well. So we do have all of our links here to get involved with those events. We do still have some speaking opportunities available for those events as well. So please get in touch with us. Sam, Kath and Hannah can testify to how much fun it is being on one of our webinars, hopefully. For everyone that's asked, all of our webinar will be recorded. It has been recorded and will be going live on the Sustainability Partnerships website with a write-up with this recording and the slides from both of our presentations today, along with some of your guys' contact details. So if anyone does have any extra questions or wants to get involved, or indeed if you're thinking about trying to get this scaled out into your area, which I know a lot of the questions have been around today, hopefully we can, this has been a bit of a catalyst to make that happen for both of these amazing initiatives. So finishing off there, we're not as pushed for time as we normally are, so I'm quite impressed with myself that I've managed to keep this on track. If there's Hannah, is there anything else, a finishing statement that you wanted to end with today other than Happy Earth Day?
Thank you.
Well, thanks so much for all of your work with Grace Cares, and hopefully we've got you in touch with quite a few interested parties here as well. Sam and Kath, is there anything that you guys wanted to finish this on?
Again, thank you. And obviously we have an email address that obviously you can contact us both directly on. And, anything we can do to help. There will be a toolkit produced at the end of the pilot, which hopefully will be obviously that will be circulated nationally anyway. But we are working in the background to try and make this a reality for the whole of the UK.
Amazing. Make sure that you send that over to us as well, Kath, and make sure that gets shared out across our network as well. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much to Kath, Sam, and Hannah. Thank you to everyone who's joined us today and asking all the questions that we've had and cheering us on in the chat as well. I really appreciate everyone's feedback on that. It's been very, very positive today. So appreciate everyone spending your lunchtime with us. Hopefully we'll see you again the 22nd of next month. And other than that, just thanks again to our speakers, and have a great rest of your Earth Day, whatever you're doing to celebrate today.